At the beginning of the movie, we see a psychiatric doctor named Miranda in a madhouse/jail called Woodward. Miranda was talking to a patient named Chloe Saba at this time. Chloe was saying that every night a devil comes to her cell and rapes her. But Miranda says that all this is her illusion. According to her, all these are her bad memories. Chloe's stepfather used to sexually abuse her. That's why Chloe is connecting all those memories to the devil. But Chloe doesn't like it. She starts screaming. Then a nurse comes and takes Chloe away from there. Then Miranda comes to Dr. Duck's office. Duck was her colleague and husband. After a while, they were kissing. Then her other colleague, Pete comes there. After a while, Duck was leaving because his shift was over. But Miranda was about to overtime. A few hours later, Miranda's work was also over, but it was raining heavily. Then Pete comes to drop her to the car. Then Miranda was going home on her daily route. But on the way, she sees the police. Actually, because of the heavy rain, there was a big hole in the road ahead. That's why Miranda has to take another route. But as soon as she crosses a bridge, Miranda sees a girl on the middle of the road. She had an accident trying to save the girl. But she wasn't hurt. She comes to her to help the girl. But the girl wasn't answering. Then the girl starts suffering and she burns herself. Then she grabs Miranda's head. But the scene ends here. Then Miranda suddenly regains consciousness. But Miranda was very surprised. Because she is now stuck in a cell in that madhouse where she used to work. She doesn't remember anything from last night. Miranda starts screaming in anger. Then Pete comes there with some nurses. And he gives Miranda an injection and makes her unconscious. Now after a while, Pete tells Miranda that he has been stuck in this cell for the last 3 days. And asks her what she remembers about last night. Miranda tells him that she only remembers that she saw a girl on the middle of the road last night, but Pete says it's impossible. Because there was no girl in the car where he found her. Then he slowly tells her that his husband Doug is dead, and the blame for his murder is on Miranda. Miranda can't stand such a big shock. She starts screaming. Then Pete catches her. Then the nurses come and give her an injection and make her unconscious again. Now the next day she wakes up. Then she was brought to the cafeteria of the madhouse. There were a lot of her patients who she was treating for 3 days. Then Chloe taunts her and gives a newspaper cut, in which the news of her husband's murder was published. In which she was told the guilt. Then Miranda believes that Pete was telling the truth. That night she suddenly wakes up. Then she heard someone breathing near the glass door. Then it is written on the glass that she is not alone. Now suddenly Miranda doesn't believe this fact that her life has changed like this. She thought it was a bad dream. When she wakes up, the nurse had come there and it was morning. Then she is taken to bathe. Where there were 20 other women besides her. While bathing she hears Chloe taunting her. As soon as she turns, she sees the same girl. Which she saw in the middle of the road. Miranda was very scared. Then that girl starts scratching her hand. Because of all this, the rest of the patients there run away in fear. But Miranda was almost the same in blood. During the treatment, Pete thinks that Miranda must have had an illusion. But while talking to Pete, Miranda understands that Pete likes her. But he says he is just trying to help her. After a while, Miranda asks for help from her colleague Phil Parsons. But Phil can't help her either. Then Miranda is introduced to his lawyer Teddy. Teddy says all the evidence is against him. And it would be better for him to stay here to avoid punishment. That's when Sheriff and Duck's best friend Bob comes there. But in a while, Bob loses his mind. 40 because he thought Miranda had hit Duck. Bob shows him some photos of his house. Then Miranda feels that blood is flowing from the wound on her hand. Everyone can see it when the bandage is removed. It says "not alone" on her hand. Then Miranda looks at those photos. There was also "not alone" written on the door of her bedroom. Then Miranda's condition starts to deteriorate. And the medical staff gives her an injection and makes her unconscious. The next day, Pete comes to meet her with Dr. Parsons. Then Miranda says that when her husband Duck was murdered, so maybe he's at home. But there was someone else there. And maybe he's the one who killed Duck. When she was trying to make them both understand. That's when she sees a photo in Dr. Parsons' office. Miranda tells him that this is the same girl he saw in the middle of the road that day. Then Parsons tells him sadly that this is impossible. Because the girl in the photo is his daughter Rachel, who committed suicide 4 years ago. Now Miranda feels at night that there is someone else in her cell. Then Miranda tells that soul that if she is Rachel's soul, then open the door of her cell. Then the door of her cell opens. Means she was really Rachel's soul. Miranda runs out immediately. When she was in the hallway, she sees that Rachel's soul is also there. Then Miranda goes to Pete's office, where the computer starts automatically. There was an article about Rachel's suicide in it. Then she sees in the CCTV footage that Rachel's soul is standing in that ward, where Chloe is locked. 5:04 Miranda thinks that Chloe is in danger. She immediately runs to save her and reaches that ward. There were some sounds coming out of Chloe's cell. Then she sees Chloe's face on the cell's glass, as if someone forced her. Miranda was trying to open the door immediately. Then she sees a man's chest in the glass, on which a very strange tattoo was made. Seeing this, Miranda was running away from there. But then the medical staff catches her. The next day, Miranda asks Pete about Chloe. Miranda was trying to tell Pete that there was a tattooed man in Chloe's cell, and Rachel didn't commit suicide. But Pete doesn't believe Miranda. He still thinks it's all Miranda's delusion. He also warns her that if she does something like this again, then she will be put in a solitary cell. After a while, Miranda meets Chloe, and apologizes for not believing her. Chloe hugs Miranda, forgiving him. But she can't tell the name of the man who was in his cell last night. She warns Miranda that now the devil will come to her. Now Miranda was put in the psycho ward. But Miranda feels again that she is not alone here. Then Rachel's soul attacks her, and picks up Miranda and starts kicking her. The medical staff comes because there is a lot of noise. Then Miranda was lying on the floor. As soon as the guard comes, Miranda kills him, makes him unconscious and runs out. Miranda had taken the guard's key. But there was an alarm in the hospital. The guards were looking for him. Then Miranda was hiding in a pool of water to escape from them. The guards leave from there. But as soon as she opens her eyes, she sees Rachel's soul in front of her. She immediately leaves from there. Then Miranda came to a guard's desk, writhing. That guard is scared to see her first. But that guard was also a very good friend of Miranda. He helps Miranda to run, and gives her the key to his car. Now Miranda was running from the car. Then she sees the soul on the back seat. Then Miranda was driving the car at a higher speed. When she goes a little further, she sees a truck coming from the front. But the car's brakes don't work. Then Miranda presses the brakes with all her might. And with just 1 inch, her accident is saved. She was happy, but there was a sinkhole in front. Her car opens the sinkhole and stops at the edge. Now she was very angry. Miranda screams and asks what that soul wants from her. Then the car's radio turns on, and she gets a hint where to go. After a while, Miranda was in front of her house. The lights of the house turn on automatically. When she goes inside the house, she sees bloodstains on the stairs. She also remembers that she killed Duck herself. But it was clearly visible. At that time, Miranda was not in herself. But that soul possessed her. When she comes to the bathroom and sees herself in the mirror, she realizes Rachel's soul has killed her husband. After a while, Miranda was crying while looking at her and Duck's photo in the bedroom. In that photo, both were in their farmhouse. At that time, that soul gives her another hint. That Miranda is seen in the photo, she has to go home. Now in the morning, Miranda was in front of her farmhouse. She checks the house, but there was no one there. Then Miranda comes to the storeroom of that house, where the farming tools were buzzing. Now as soon as Miranda was about to leave, her eyes fall on a camera box kept there. After a while, she finds a secret door in the ground. Miranda was shocked when she got down and turned on the light, because there was a bed, chains, drugs and a camera there. When she plays that camera, she finds out the reality of her husband. Actually, her husband was living a double life. In his normal life, he was a doctor. But in his secret life, he was a psycho. 835 who used to kidnap girls, rape them, torture them and kill them. Seeing this, the ground cracked under Miranda's feet. But then she hears the sound of someone's feet. Miranda was trying to escape from him. But then a police officer comes there. She understands something, then 2 hands hold her from behind. But here it turns out that she is not a soul, but a living girl who was a new victim of her husband Duck. After a while, Miranda was taken to the police station for questioning. After a while, Parson comes there. Miranda had called him to meet her. Miranda tells him how Rachel helped him to take his revenge and bring out the truth. All this meant that Rachel did not commit suicide. In fact, she was also killed by Duck after rape and torture. She also tells this to Pete on the phone. But still Pete doesn't believe her. Now, According to the rules, she had to stay in the police lockup all night. Then Miranda asks an officer to call Sheriff Bob. But Bob was not available yet. On the other hand, Pete was investigating the tattoo from his side. Miranda told him about it. Now a few hours later, Sheriff Bob comes to meet Miranda that night. After telling everything, Miranda tells Bob. According to him, Duck could not have done all this alone. He must have had another companion. While telling his theory and analyzing the psychology of the other man, Miranda understands that the other man is no one else but Sheriff Bob. Because Bob was Duck's best friend. And also a sheriff. By taking advantage of being a sheriff, he could easily erase all his evidence. Miranda also understands this. Bob agreed to meet him because he had to erase his own evidence. Then Bob also understands that Miranda understood everything. Then suddenly Bob attacks Miranda. During the fight, Miranda tears off his shirt. And this is also the summary here. Bob is the man who used to go to Chloe's cell and rape her. Now somehow Miranda runs away from there. Bob was shooting at Miranda. He didn't get shot, but the gas pipe burst from the bullet. Miranda had reached the top. But the main door was locked. She calls for help, but no one listens. But then Bob comes there. Here the cat and mouse game goes on for a while. Bob was looking for Miranda with a shotgun. He tells Miranda that he and Duck have been kidnapping girls for many years. They have been murdering them after raping and torturing them. And they have also killed Rachel. After a while, he found Miranda under the table. Then a shadow passes behind him. Bob follows the shadow. Then he sees a girl in front of him. Bob shoots her thinking she is Miranda. But nothing happens to her. Because she was Rachel's soul. Bob was shocked to see Rachel's soul. He shoots her again. But what will happen to a soul with a gun? But shooting sets fire there. Because the gas had already spread there. Bob was burning in that fire. When he looks in front of him, Miranda was standing in front of him. She immediately shoots him. Then Pete arrives there. And apologizes for not believing him. Pete is relieved to see Miranda alive. Now after a year, we see Miranda and Chloe on the road. All charges were removed from Miranda. And now Chloe was also fine. Now they had become good friends. After a while, Chloe hugs Miranda and leaves. Now Miranda was walking on the road. Then she sees a boy who was standing in the middle of the road. Then a truck comes there. And Miranda finds out that it was the boy's soul. Miranda leaves there carefully. And the camera comes to a poster. This was the same boy's missing poster. Which Miranda saw a while ago. And here this movie also ends.